Hello everyone, this is Theology Brain here, and in this video I'm going to be doing a shortened summary of my past video, which was I think very long and around 40 minutes, although I did break down some important parts there in detail and maybe I rambled a bit, but this is going to be less than 1.5, which is just a shortened summary of what I was discussing before. And that video, I believe, was called The Ontological Account of God and the First Theory of Nothingness. So I'm just going to be reading these aloud and trying to get through them as fast as possible so that everyone can understand kind of the gist of what I was saying. So I will start now. And of course, this came from my book, which is on Amazon, if you would like to purchase it and delve deeper into what I've been trying to surface here. So if you'd like to check that out, then you can. So let's start with this side. What is chaos? Number 1, the absence of rules is a rule. Number 2, things that follow rules can be classed as a system or part of one. Number 3, chaos then is a system of possibilities, the mapping out of the absence of rules. Therefore, members of chaos must be infinitely recurring on themselves, a possibility toward all other undetermined possibilities back onto themselves. Thus, there can be no maintained source of potential because of the infinite momentums. Therefore, chaos cannot exist within time or space because there is no potential for it to exist as a single thing itself. Chaos needs time and space to properly define itself, ironically, or else what is it purporting? It would be self-contradictory. There would be just order instead, the preferred starting point. Because chaos is the absence of order, that which is absent should have ontological preference. Therefore, chaos is a valid idea that cannot be properly executed in reality, but only exists in theory. Investigation, point 7. 7. Chaos needs time and space to properly define itself, or else what is it purporting? It would be self-contradictory. There would be just order instead, the preferred starting point. Order does not need time and space, but only requires one component, which is either time or space, because either of these follow rules that are opposed to chaos. The arrow of time always goes forward, and space always exists but with rules, so you need both in order to create chaos. Therefore, order has ontological preference, should exist prior or first to chaos, because it requires less possibilities to be made true. Therefore, it follows the Occam's razor principle. And the Occam's razor says the principle gives precedence to simplicity. Of two competing theories, the simpler explanation of an entity is to be preferred. Encyclopedia Britannica. Therefore, order is the preferred starting point. Arrow of possibility goes backwards. Then what is possibility, at least conceived through time? As time has its own arrow of entropy, we see that possibility is also impacted by some form of entropy as well. There is an arrow of momentum that links the threads of possibility together. This momentum is simply the mapping of possibilities onto themselves, to which each possibility actualized before another maintains a higher potentiality simply by being the potential before the potential of its sub-possibilities through time were met. Because this pattern is uniform, always moving forwards, and exists through time, we call it momentous. In other simpler terms, as possibilities turn their potentialities into actualizations, they allow for greater possibilities to have the potential to be actualized through time because of lower potentialities for a single higher possibility. This force is momentous. An example to understand this: when Charlie was a boy, he had the potential to become anything he wanted, but 5 years later he went to prison for murder. When we go back in time, we see that Charlie's potentiality was much greater as a citizen than before he was arrested. Because of this, he cannot be anything he wanted anymore. His potentiality is permanently lessened. Therefore, when he was a boy in the past, he had a higher potentiality to be what he wanted. We can view this in the same way with possibilities in general. Going back in time, they had a higher potentiality. Now let's talk about pure possibility. But when we look backwards, we see that the momentum becomes lessened and the potentiality grows as well towards larger categories that may exclude time as a possibility. That potentiality is carried through less and less vehicles of possibilities until we find that it stops at one single point in space or time, a single possibility. That point is completely inertial to itself and is what I call pure pure possibility, or the possible act of being possible. Pure possibility is possibility defined at its stillest point, a possibility of itself to itself. There is zero momentum at this crucial area, but now the question then arises, what caused pure possibility to realize other possibilities other than itself? And this, I believe, is an important question with metaphysical implications. Pure possibility is inertial, it doesn't move. It would be illogical to exclude pure possibility as a possibility, since some possibilities must have been met prior to the possibilities in themselves, and this is the first possibility of all. So therefore it must exist a priori to other possibilities. And a priori here just means as a definition to itself, but there's a lot of other ways you can word that. Okay, continuing. Furthermore, to say that something other than pure possibility has existed is to betray Occam's razor. Why should the backward momentum of possibilities be stopped from its natural gradual resting point by something that interferes with this for reason A? What is reason A, and why is it not inertial if it is possibility in itself, a possible state of being possible? That sounds inertial to me. So this pure possibility is the starting point of the momentum for possibilities, and therefore needs to be inertial. Otherwise, another possibility would have to come before itself, or whatever it's purporting to be as a pure possibility substitute, as any actualization which comes from a momentous force must have been the product of a possibility rendered before itself as a possibility to a potentiality, and hence can never be a first possibility. Therefore, pure possibility is strictly metaphysical. Investigation, Abstract Law 1. The only thing that can exist other than itself, if it is only by itself, is the negation of itself. So that must be possible. For example, 1. If only 1 exists, no 2, 3, or whatever, then negative 1 must also exist in theory because it's connected to the idea of 1. So let's break this down to see if we can understand it better. So let us see if it is possible to find the correct conditions for this possible negation. We know about pure possibility that, number 1, it is inertial, number 2, it is moving towards possibility as a possibility of itself. Now then, the negation must then fulfill these conditions. It is moving towards an infinite limit. It is complete in itself, moving away from possibility as a possibility to itself. So do you see the negation changed it from possibility of itself to possibility to itself? And this is the negation that we have. And it is possible that there's a negation. So these conditions are possible. So the negation is possible. Let's get further into it. The negation, which will be what I call figure B, posits a crucial, important question in understanding this problem. What is its nature? It seems that figure B is moving all of the time infinitely, and therefore is opposite to the non-negation figure A. But if we look closely, we could find that something complete in itself is actually a paradox. The complete in itself, figure B, is a paradox. This is because the condition that figure B must be completed is true, but in actuality, the condition that figure B is not completed when thought in that way must also be true due to the nature of infinity having x numbers that can be added to it at all times. Therefore, there is no valid sense of completion in this way. Therefore, it contradicts itself at all instances because of two mutually exclusive perspectives. What this means is that two opposing ideas of something can be true at the same time, which leaves that something as being contradictory in its nature and therefore never completed and never completely true. This makes complete in self inertial, actually, and unable to influence any system other than its own because it's continuously influencing its own system in a contradictory manner, so that its potential is always kept within itself, in order to make sense of itself in two views that are not compatible with each other but are always true to the same definition. Because of this trapping of its potential, there is no way that it can come out of non-order to produce something of order out of its own system, which needs to influence pure possibility to begin itself. So these are some logical rules. I mean, they show the problems of infinity, but this is more analytic philosophy. So what is causing let me read the title first. What is possible? So what is causing pure possibility to gain momentum that clearly does not belong to itself? The only other option is that there is something that exists outside the domains of existence itself. The potentiality for this is existence without existence, and can be a valid potentiality and solution to this problem. But there is a key difference to note here. Potentiality of existence without existence is vastly different than a potentiality of existence outside existence. The former still has a possibility because it is possible. In other words, possible states do not care about existence itself, but rather logical ideas within the realm of possible ideas. The idea that something can exist out of a set, even if the set is infinitely complex, is a valid idea and therefore made possible. Potentiality of existence outside existence doesn't make much sense though, because possibility must work within things that exist as a preliminary condition, as a requirement. Here existence doesn't exist, so how can it exist in the first place? Right? Next slide. So here we're going to God in the big picture. So what is the nature of a potentiality without existence? First, it would have to be completely whole as a preliminary condition to itself, a requirement of itself, because it lies outside of the realms of all existence. A completely whole substance is a potentiality of itself, and therefore doesn't require a potentiality of others to define itself. It is therefore eternal and first. This would be the only way for such a thing to exist in the domain of things that exist, like this. I call this figure C for academic purposes, or God. Figure C must also eclipse all existing things because of its nature of being overbearing over possibility itself as an a priori definition to itself. Does this mean that it has knowledge of all things? It is hard to say, but we know that it has some form of power over the realm of existence and that it can fully ignore it, but must also acknowledge its contents in a way that are just as contradictory as figure B, which is the negation of pure possibility. So we can call figure C now as God. So who is God? Well, this might make God rooted in complete ethics, because this contradiction is also what spurs ethical paradoxes as being ignorable but nonetheless a powerful force towards acknowledgement. But the difference this time is that God exists fully rather than questions the basis of existence fully, like figure B, the infinite negation paradox. In this way, God's existence is an absurd relation with itself, but within a maximizing drive towards existence itself, rather than existence rooted in time, where the latter, which is the existence rooted in time, divides the contents so that nothing can become fully whole. God is fully whole before even realization, or a priori conceptualizations, which is logic, which make up the other set of existence things. So he is not part of that. So finale, thanks for listening and watching this presentation. I hope you have a great day and God bless. And this is the second video, not the first. But if you guys have any questions or anything, just leave a comment down below and I'll try to respond to it. So have a great day or night or whatever time it is where you guys are, and just have a great day, and thank you for listening to my video, and I'll be trying to break these down into smaller parts and really the important parts, and making even shorter videos about this. So thank you, and hope you have a great day, and God bless.